and welcome to the forecast for October 27th until November 2nd. My name is Desiree de Lunae, your acupuncturist, herbalist, and astrologer. And we're going to dive into this coming week where Mercury is the star of the show. Mercury makes a lot of moves this week and talking to all kinds of other planets. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And by the way, this is our last week before Mercury goes into retrograde, which may impact some of you. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, here we go. Well, welcome. Now, Monday, as you can tell, we have been dealing with this Mercury-Mars conjunction for the last number of days, and it did hit its peak at around October 19th, 20th, and this is quite a combination. We have the potency of Mars, which is a planet that deals with aggression, conflict, fighting, and disagreements, and just being a little bit more on the attack, because this is the planet of war. And then we have Mercury, which is our words and our thinking. And when these two are together, especially in the sign of Scorpio, we're dealing with a lot of truth, honesty, because that's one thing that Scorpio prefers is truth and honesty, but saying things possibly in a more assertive / aggressive way. Words have been very strong lately, and words have been very penetrating, maybe even transformative. But this has given many of us an opportunity to really say what's been on our minds and what's been on our hearts rather than holding it in or holding it back. So there's definitely been a lot more conversations out in the open and discussing of more hidden matters or things we often keep hidden, because that is one thing that Scorpio likes to do, is discover those hidden truths. And if you can see just by the nature of Mars, the nature of Scorpio, they have been cutting sometimes. They have been very penetrating and sharp and stingy and bitter at times. So if you've been noticing that in your own lives, in some of your relationships, this is an explanation why. Now, they are still close together on Monday, on the 27th. They're about 4 degrees away. But as we progress with, each day, like this is going to start to separate. Granted, you even have Mercury that is in sextile with Pluto, but you're going to see how this gets really tight in its sextile. And that is also very supportive too, helping Mercury to access powerful truths, hidden truths too. And if you've been wanting to do some sort of investigative work or subconscious work and really want to dig deep, like Mercury is very helpful with this whole Pluto conversation. So overall, as you can tell, like we have 3 planets in Scorpio. So Scorpio season is among us and it is very strong, and Mars is very strong here. And, one of the areas of your life to look at, well, look at the house that Scorpio is over, and you might notice some activity there. Because of all of these planets there and all the attention is in that area. So with Scorpio, just know that it is strategic. This has been one of the amazing pluses of this Mars-Mercury conjunction that we've had, is that we've been able to really come up with some creative problem solving, come up with planning, decision making, because that is one thing that Scorpions are really great at, is they study their prey, they study the problem, and they know when to move, when to strike, when to act, when to decide. So there is a lot of amazing strategic planning energy that we get with all of these planets here. Now, another thing to note is that the moon is here in Capricorn, which is nice because it does provide that grounding energy, that calmness, and that sense of stability. So emotionally, even though like the mind is at it, right? But the emotional body can really just settle in and feel, this foundation where they feel centered. So I really love that at least Moon is here because, in addition, by the way, not only is Mercury sextile Pluto, which is great, but as you can tell, that Sun is still in square with Pluto. And here, like, this is where we are wanting to also claim control too. That's one thing with Scorpio energy, and especially with Pluto, like we're wanting more control. We're wanting more autonomy. And so the issue of power dynamics really come to the surface. And then with all the Uranus energy to add to this, like you have Uranus that is in opposition to this, like we want freedom. We want freedom and we want to be liberated and we want to be heard and understood. This is all very important. So a lot of truth, okay? I mean, there's no like beating around the bush. There's none of that energy. We're getting straight to the core of issues, straight to the matter. And that's been one beautiful blessing about this is that, we've had the opportunity and continue to have this opportunity to really be honest with the people in our lives. So there's that. Now, I do want to mention that we have a Grand Water Trine, and this is going to get tighter with certain planets, and it's going to be present really the whole week. So we have Jupiter in 24 degrees Cancer, and then we have Mars here at 24 degrees of Scorpio. So these are both, water planets. I'm sorry, signs, water signs. And then on top of that, we have Saturn here. Okay. So Saturn is 26 degrees. So it's, a couple degrees away, but it's still pretty close. And so you have this big, beautiful triangle that is formed between them. So they are in conversation and they are working together in unison, like in this harmonious way. Grand trines, where you have this big triangle, energy flows really smoothly and easily. I mean, they're working like synergistically here between Jupiter, Mars, and to a certain degree, Mercury too, and Saturn, and to a certain degree, Neptune. But I want to just kind of focus on the Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn for now. And between the three of them, you have this planet up here, Jupiter, that deals with expansive visions and being able to see this greater perspective of things, okay? And just emotional connection to it being here in Cancer. And then when we take a look at Mars, Mars here is the planet of action and focus. I mean, talking about laser-like focus. And then you have Saturn that brings structure, that brings commitment and discipline. And so when we put this all together, you see us taking committed, disciplined, strategic action towards, our grand visions, towards what we are emotionally in resonance with. So they're all working together. It's amazing. And then I actually really love the fact that Moon's in a grounded sign, to add that flavor, to add that layer. So this is going to be with us, like I said, all week. And then it does bring in Neptune. It does bring in Mercury too. Neptune is also a planet that really helps with our visions and talk about being very heart-centered too. It isn't just what logically makes sense, but between Neptune and Jupiter, we're making sure that it spiritually and emotionally resonates, that it connects on those levels too. And Mercury, always helpful to throw this in the mix within the Grand Trine, because it's going to help us with, the mental capacity to plan, to see, to really work through all of the details. So love this Grand Water Trine. That's quite a blessing for us this week. Now, October 28th, which is Tuesday, we have Moon in Capricorn still, and it will be opposing Jupiter here. And one of the things we just want to be cautious of with the Moon opposite Jupiter is overextending ourselves emotionally, over promising, over giving, over delivering. Another issue we could see is like heightened sensitivity towards your self-worth and self-esteem, since because moon is in Capricorn. Now, Mercury is trine Neptune exact. Love this. We've got this planet of like dreams and imagination and vision. And then we have, the logical planet here, the analytical planet of Mercury. It's in Scorpio, so it's in hyperdrive in terms of its, analysis. So between the two of them in a trine, again, harmoniously communicating, it's so great because it's like connecting the head and the heart. It's both what feels right and what sounds right and what looks right, So we're checking off all of these boxes here. And this gives a lot of good insight too. And I wouldn't be surprised if people get a surge of creative energy from these grand water trines. I mean, if you think about water element, water is very reflective. Water is connected to the emotions. It's connected to intuition. And it's also very powerful creative energy, all of these being in water signs. So letting your inner knowing just really voice itself and make its presence is going to be important this week. All right, now on Wednesday, October 29th, we have a shift of the moon. Moon is going into Aquarius, and Aquarius is a little bit more detached. It's in an air sign, so it's more of the mental space, more logical too, and it is more futuristic. It is about optimizing things. And here's the thing though, it is next to Pluto. It's next to Pluto. It's going to conjunct Pluto in the early hours of the morning, and a good portion of the day it's going to be talking to Pluto. So Pluto is revealing the hidden things. Pluto is dealing with our fears too. Sometimes when moon is conjunct Pluto in this way, we might get this hit of some of our deepest fears and worries and concerns like coming to the surface as well. So again, it's an opportune time to do shadow work and healing work on that, and also going into work that helps to break these kinds of cycles and loops and destructive patterns too. Now, another really big deal is that you notice Mercury is in a whole new sign, and Mercury's in Sagittarius. Know that next week we will be encountering a Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. Okay. Now, Mercury retrograde doesn't impact everyone the same. It depends. It depends on what house it is in your chart. Do you have other planets there? If you have planets in Sagittarius, Mercury retrograde, you might feel it a little bit more. Other things to consider: if you are a rising sign that is Mercury ruled, you might feel it a little bit more. So that's just a side note. We'll get into that next week when Mercury does go into retrograde, but enjoy non-retrograde Mercury for this week. And going into Sagittarius, this is starkly different from Scorpio. Scorpio is very yin. It's very reflective, right? It's very it's deep. Yes, whereas Mercury in Sagittarius has a more expansive, open, wide perspective. And I'm not saying expansive it being better. I'm saying it's kind of like the eagle eye perspective versus being down on the ground and noticing all the fine details in front of you, right? So it has a wider view of things. It's much more, well, I don't want to say much more, but it tends to be more philosophical, more spiritual, and it's not as, intensely laser focused like a Scorpio energy is. This is a bit more adventurous and, a little bit more like playful and fun loving in a sense, whereas Scorpio is very serious. So you might feel a little lightening of energy. It might feel a bit lighter. Maybe your mind is not going to be as obsessively thinking about something as it was when it was in Scorpio. Now, I will say though, we have this sextile with Pluto. So Pluto has some similar qualities and archetypes as Scorpio. So we haven't fully left that scorpionic type of energy. In this sense, I think it's the best of both worlds because we can be a bit more like wide in how we're viewing something so that we don't get too stuck on an individual detail. But at the same time, so we can see the vision of the future because that is what Sagittarius is amazing at. It's very futuristic too, and it knows how to dream and it knows how to have visions, and see what that like light at the end of the tunnel. What is the grand goal? It's very optimistic too. So the mind will have a tendency towards at this time just being a bit more optimistic and positive about things. And Pluto having a sextile, which is a nice blue line conversation. Okay, this is helpful. Is we can still see the details. We can still see important features. Pluto is great at taking the small stuff and making it big, or taking the big stuff and making it small. So I feel like there's a nice, well-rounded approach in our thinking and in our planning with all of this together. And Mercury does talk to the moon, does have a sextile to the moon, which is nice, so there's this nice like connection between head and heart. I feel like that's a big theme throughout this week, is alignment between the head and the heart, between the thinking and the feeling. But words here can really be very healing and transformative and penetrating too, just like when Mercury was conjunct Mars in Scorpio. And look, Mars and Mercury are still pretty close. They're 5 degrees away. So, we haven't really escaped that conjunction completely yet. Okay. You know what? There's one more thing for this day, for Wednesday, is I wanted to point out there is an exact opposition, if you notice here, between Uranus and Mercury. And Uranus is known to be like the higher octave of Mercury. So this is a lot of energy. And look, if you think about it, both of these planets, which really affect the mind and thinking, are both in yang signs. You have Uranus in an air sign in Gemini, right here, and then you have Mercury in a fire sign, Sagittarius. So lots of inspiration, lots of ideas, lots of enlightenment. I mean, talk about freeing your mind, because Uranus brings liberation, brings freedom. And if you have been stuck in the loop of thinking of something a certain way and you needed that, like, I need to crack my brain open, this is the day that it could happen. Absolutely. And remember, this is unexpected, unplanned, okay, shocking, like lightning strike. You cannot schedule this in. It's just going to happen at some point in the day where you might have this very powerful revelation. It can cause some mental stimulation for sure. It can cause some mind, like thoughts racing, running. So, but if you could have really powerful, cool ideas that just come through as well. But nervous energy is something to look out for. And also just unexpected surprises in the day. They could be great or they could be annoying. They could be disruptive or they could be exciting. So it's kind of a box of chocolates. We don't know. And that's the thing with Uranus. You can't know. You can't predict. But if it's a creative breakthrough, that is so cool. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, with all this water sign Grand Trine, and then you have this in the background, and it's talking to Pluto and the moon. I would not be surprised if there's some sort of creative breakthrough for sure, if that is part of your lifestyle. Okay, now let's go to Thursday. On Thursday, we have Mercury, it's still in opposition to Uranus. That's still a pretty tight opposition. So everything I just said applies on this day as well. We have an exact sextile to Pluto. I mean, this, you might get something revealed to you that may be shocking, but very healing and important and transformational. And you can handle it. You know, with Moon in Aquarius here, it's also very logical and analytical. It's not, versus if it was here in Scorpio, it might really feel tumultuous. But I think there's a sense of, okay, I can work with this. I can work with this. We can figure it out. There's a cool, calm, collected approach when we have Moon in Aquarius, is what I've noticed. We do have Moon that is trine Venus. Love this. Love this. Okay. So this is really sweet. Like, this is a benefic planet. This brings the softness, sweetness, just kindness, compassion, and it can also, again, stimulate any artistic expression as well. It can also bring beauty. Like, let's say something chaotic does happen, yet Venus is soothing and harmonizing, and it can really just, have this gentle approach. So between the Moon in Aquarius, I just mentioned, and this Venus is strong in Libra. Venus rules Libra, so Venus is super strong. So this like harmonious energy that Venus brings is just gonna soften everything if for some reason the news is difficult or annoying. But even if it isn't, like, it just sweetens the deal here. So love this. There's a lot of great connection in relationships too, and heartfelt conversations when we see a Venus trine Moon, with a very strong Venus at that. Okay, now let's go to Friday, we have a total vibe shift. We've got Moon going into Pisces. And as you can tell, there was a lot of attention in Pisces energy too. Now, Moon in Pisces, this is a water sign, okay? And this is only going to add to this Grand Trine. You're going to feel the Grand Trine even more because Moon is going to be a part of the story. And Pisces is about, imagination and dreams, and it's more abstract. It's very spiritual. It's very sensitive. So Moon is our emotions. We're going to want to go a bit more inward, be a bit more reflective, more like connected to our feelings, more compassionate here too, and forgiving and kind. Like, this is very sweet and soft. I really like this. I feel like the collective needs more of this right now. And the North Node is here. So here, this is about really tuning into our dreams. And with Saturn being here, this gives foundation and structure to our dreams and our visions. And so enjoy the lightness here. Yeah. Okay. Now we do have, though, we've got a square to Uranus. It's in the morning. It's going to stay around in the morning and it'll pass, but you'll probably feel that square. Actually, we have a T square. So from Moon to Uranus to Mercury, everything that Mercury and Uranus have been going through, like I said, like breaking open your mind, guess what? You're probably going to feel it in your body too, and deeply in your emotional body. I see this as actually quite healing. This is a very healing day. This is a revelatory day, but it's also integration. So maybe you had these pops of insights in the last couple of days, but then with Moon being where it's at here in Pisces, you're going to deal with integration, and it's not just in your head. Like, you're really going to feel it in your body, and that transformation is going to happen in every cell of your being. So very potent. It's actually quite a potent week now, the more that I am diving into it. You could have some profound creative healing breakthroughs here. And also, this is very spiritual. This is about surrendering, right, to the collective, surrendering to the divine. So here, there's this sense of oneness and unity, and there's a divine timing of things. Like, actually, just if you think about Saturn, it's about time. It's the father of time, timing, and it being in Pisces, which is more about like divine energy, source energy. this is quintessential, like divine timing, surrendering to divine timing, is the way that you can interpret all of this. And the fact that the North Node is in Pisces right now, it's right in the middle of Pisces. Like these are the matters of the spirit, right? The matters of our intuition and our sensitivity and the collective consciousness. Like these are matters that should be at top of mind for all of us right now. Really serving the needs of the collective is very important, and being compassionate. The Pisces is ever compassionate and loving and kind and gentle and accepting and forgiving. This is such beautiful love that we get to experience through Pisces energy. Okay, now let's go on to Saturday. Saturday, we have Moon very close to the North Node. All right. Look, with Moon being in Pisces and especially next to the North Node, our sensitivities might be extra heightened right now on Friday, Saturday, and I believe some of Sunday. Yeah, oops, I went way too far back. Saturday and Sunday as well. And I do recommend applying, if you follow my work, applying essential oils that help to support your boundaries, because the thing with all of this Neptune, Pisces, North Node, this could make us a bit more porous. So if you plan on being around a lot of people or being in places with large crowds over the weekend and you are sensitive, I highly recommend putting on that extra layer of protection for sure. Doing, basic like energetic hygiene type of rituals and practices, whatever you use. I also love saging too, but there's numerous things that you can do. Just know that you want to take care of your boundaries, your energetic immunity, especially with all of this happening. Because even on Sunday, I'm just going to quickly look, Moon and Neptune are right next to each other, which is amazing if you are like wanting to, connect into other realms, for spiritual purposes or for creative purposes and all of that. But this is going to make you extremely porous. Okay. Extremely porous on Sunday, especially in the morning. So you want to be safe and you want to take good care of yourself and not, expose yourself to anything potentially harmful or energetically aggressive for you in your field. But yeah, the sensitivities are really heightened. But, there is a beautiful Moon and Sun trine. So that's like feeling confident, feeling in flow. I really love the sense of flow that we often get when we see a trine between Moon and the Sun. All right, and let's go to Sunday. As I just mentioned, that porousness is no joke, for real. We're going to notice Mars is really adding to this tighter trine with Neptune. Moon is plugged into this. Look at this, because it's the same degree as Neptune, right? It is plugged into this water grand trine. So whatever has been happening, okay, with this water grand trine for you, this like divine action, right, on your visions and your plans, your Moon is connected to it. So you're really going to feel it. You might really feel intensely the power of your ideas and your visions and how you want to go about it. You'll probably feel more motivation, more passion, because this Mars in trine with Moon, it's going to bring you that thrill and excitement and even courage, like boldness to take these actions. I mean, everything is locked in for you to go. Just go and do. And even with like Mercury here in Sagittarius, it's optimistic. There's just a lot of optimism here, a lot of positivity, and a lot of like feeling sure about the direction that we are going in. We're feeling hopeful, but it's not just fantastical. It's not in la la land. Like there is a grounding feature about this. It's so we're connected to ourselves, and we're connected to our dreams, and we're really ready to take these bold actions. And over time, like, look at this Uranus. Right now, it's in opposition. Yes, it is for sure. It's about 3 degrees away from 180 exact. But his Mars comes into here, and Uranus is actually going to come back into Taurus. But you're going to see Uranus and Mars have a exact opposition, and this is like liberating action. I mean, there is a sense, I feel like there's a huge sense of breaking free just because of the fact that Uranus is touching these two planets, right? It's in trine with this. It's in sextile over here. And what does Uranus do? Uranus is the awakener. It is the disruptor. It is the breakthrough, break free planet. And so there's something restless inside of us that we're just so sick and tired of doing. And we've been doing it a while, and it's starting to feel restricted, like confinement, like being in prison. Let me know if you feel a sense of that and you just want to just get the fuck out of it. Get the fuck out of here so that you can be free. That's essentially what Uranus gives us, is freedom. And talk about mind freedom too, because Mercury, that's the mind, right? Our ideas, our thinking, the way that we think. We want to liberate our minds. And also we're going to start taking, when Uranus gets exact to Mars, again, you're probably already feeling it now, we're taking some serious action that may seem out of the blue, like that are unexpected, but like, let's say somebody randomly just leaves a 30-year career because they are so over it, so sick of it. That is classic, like Uranus opposite Mars with Mercury. Absolutely. So that's some juicy stuff that's coming up ahead. I love it, but it's starting to become quite intolerable to participate in things that are not aligned with our soul and not aligned with our hearts. That's one of the big takeaways. And Uranus, and the way Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune have been in this mini Grand Trine for months and months and months, I think since last year. It's making sure that we follow through and that we get more and more aligned with our essence and our true nature, because not doing so is crazy painful now. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this forecast. Enjoy this lovely Mercury and Sagittarius week. And bear in mind that, next week we begin our retrograde season. So something to keep an eye out is, where is Sagittarius in my chart? All right, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. I help people discover their soul's natural design through astrology. To give an example, I have this client. Before her consultation, she felt very stuck and very unsure how to proceed forward with something. But after the consultation, she felt this light inside of her just reignite. So if you can't see your next steps clearly ahead of you, it's incredibly exhausting, it's draining, it's frustrating, and it makes it very hard to make decisions that are in alignment with your true essence. So in a 75-minute cosmic clarity consultation, I help to reveal these key indicators of your natural talents, your purpose, your advantages, your strengths, and putting that all together, you are going to have way more clarity moving forward. I have about 20 plus years of experience in elemental medicine. So the way that I interpret charts, it's very grounded and it's very practical in nature. So if you are ready to transform a confusion into clarity, go ahead and click the link down below to book your cosmic clarity consultation, where you get an in-depth reading all about you and how to move about in the world, as well as the recording that you can access for life.